feel the wind that I really, I enjoyed being home as well. And this is now the crew that's up there right now. So Satoshi, Mike, and Sergey are on their way home on Monday night. Dan and Anatoly and Anton just got up there, and Dan is the Coast Guard guy from Massachusetts. And they will be up there another few months. And I think it's nice to realize when you look up in the Denver night sky and you see a star that is brighter than any of the other stars, and you see it moving across the sky about this fast, that's these guys probably just getting tucked in for bed. So with that, I will say thank you very much, and I appreciate being here amongst so many people that care about the community, and I'm happy to take questions until Seth tells me we can't do it anymore.
I'm sure we have lots of questions, so we'll start right here.
Yeah, a while ago there was a scare with space debris, I believe, getting kind of close to the space station.
So I can repeat it. I can hear it, and we'll work on the mic. Go ahead.
Did you see a lot of space debris?
Did we see a lot of space debris?
From that and all that?
They're always tracking it. Actually, from right here in Colorado, Cheyenne Mountain, they track everything bigger than about this, and smaller than about this, we have the shielding and stuff that will probably accommodate. And at the same time, they can actually see things coming days in advance, and they sort of draw a mathematical box closer and closer. They try to call our families and make sure that they know that there's sort of an event that might happen, so that my husband doesn't have to see it on the news or hear about it on the internet, that his wife's having to go and hide in the Soyuz, so to speak. So we actually will maneuver the space station away if we have enough warning that it's enough certainty, if we have enough time, and if we don't, then we actually go into our rescue ship, which is the ship that we came up on, and we go in there and actually wait. They'll tell us we're going to wake you up at 2 a.m. if it still looks like an event, if that's the time. So we think about those things, and it is just something to deal with, and as an international space environment, they're working hard to make sure that people are designing things to create a minimum of debris.
We're using the Russian launch capacity. How important is it for the U.S. to have a launching capability?
How important it is for the U.S. to have a U.S. launching capability? I think it's supremely important. Do we have one right now? No, we do not. And there's a lot of different competing, really important, fiscal, needs in this country. And 10 years ago is about the time frame that the decision was made to not fund the new vehicle to the extent that it would be ready in time for when the space shuttle needed to retire. So nobody at NASA is surprised about this. The media has recently discovered this, but it's not great. We worry mostly about losing the people and the skills that really know how to do this stuff by the time the new vehicle is ready. I mean, do you want to go up with the vehicle that's been tuned by the guy that's been doing it for 20 or 30 years, or somebody who just learned from somebody who used to know how to do it maybe? It's a big deal, and the loss of the skills and the jobs and all those kinds of things. But it is what it is, and it's just my Katie Colman opinion here, but it was time to retire the space shuttle. And flying the space shuttle was literally paralyzing in a way. It's so complicated, so involved, so expensive to fly the space shuttle. And at this point, it's really just a way of getting people and stuff up to the space station, which was the main goal for the last bunch of years, was to have a space station to live and work on. And so by having that expensive distraction, I don't mean to belittle it in any way, we couldn't have a space station without the shuttle, it was time to retire it, it's time to work on the new vehicle, and NASA is doing that. And what they have given away, so to speak, is they're keeping exploration. We, NASA, are keeping exploration. We're developing the new vehicle, things that we know how to do, getting stuff and getting people up and down, that we have given to the commercial sector. And in conjunction, we're doing it together. But companies like SpaceX, Orbital, Sierra Nevada, Blue Orchid, I think. There's a lot of different companies. I'm just naming a few, and they're a lot more, fiscally and also technically agile than the government can be. And they have the skills to be making this work. So it's actually a pretty, even though it's a tough time, it's a pretty exciting time at NASA in that we wanted to get onto this new stuff. We wanted to go to these other places, send robots. There's a Mars rover launch on the day after Thanksgiving. I mean, I don't want to send people there until we understand enough about what we're going to meet when we get there, that we've built the right stuff. And that's what, I mean, somebody is taking a pretty big programmatic view. I think we have a good view, a good path. And then in a practical way, it's actually difficult to keep a long-term vision alive during multiple, administrations that have a shorter, horizon as they actually need to. So it's a big question, but it's a long answer, but it's all part of what we're doing right now.
It is right about 1 o'clock. I don't want to cut this off. I know there's lots of more questions. If you're willing to stay and keep answering questions, I'm sure we'll have plenty.
It's up to Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob is in charge of me today.
What's your timing, Uncle Bob?
If he doesn't actually yank me off the stage, then we get to keep continuing.
Okay. One.
That's okay.
That's true.
I eat really fast.
Go ahead, Will. Find
Katie,
somebody over there.
this is a very different question. It may be very personal, so if you do not want to answer it, feel free. But as a spiritual person, I was wondering if, at all, going into space had affected you at all as far as your spirituality as an individual.
Well, everybody is different about that, and I'm a spiritual person as well, but I don't think being out there made me feel like there was any particular entity. I mean, to me, the universe itself is pretty amazing, and to have this view of it was something that certainly changed me forever. And I talked a little bit about, it's not that I feel like less of an American, and I'm really, really proud of being an American, and I think we have a certain leadership that's necessary, and actually we won't be going to space without it. But at the same time, I feel very much like a humble citizen of the earth, and in a very sincere need to be part of bringing up the new generation and taking care of the planet that we actually have. So does he have a question? Do you have a question? You can.
Dr. Colman?
Oh, you have space stuff. That's very good, and that's really good that somebody brought that to lunch for you, too. Yes?
You were the very first time sitting in the rocket, waiting your very first launch. Describe the feeling.
He asked what it was like to be on the very first launch that I had, what it was like. And I'll tell you that, I know that some people need to leave, so please feel free to do that or get more food or whatever. We actually had 7 launch attempts over 30 days. Because it's on the space shuttle, okay? It was hurricane season, and the weather was just terrible. We had one mechanical problem and just awful weather. And there's people in my family who still don't speak to me from that time. Because, they come down to Florida. They take their vacation money. They're renting cars and hotel rooms. It's really hard to weather through that kind of time. And so, to me, we suited up actually only 3 times. But every time you suit up, you climb in, and then you don't go. It actually reinforces to you that somebody was only kidding. It's so hard to feel like real people get to go to space. I think there's something inside of us that has a really hard time believing that. And so when we have these aborted launch attempts, it just reinforces that. And it wasn't until we actually did launch that you just, holy cow. We were all so excited. We had 5 rookies and 2 experienced people on this crew, and we were so excited. We were hooting and hollering, and the commander said, "Settle down." So we did. And on my second launch, so it was really amazing. You saw that blue sky fading to black and the clouds going really, and you're going somewhere, and you're just not going to stop until the engine's cut off. My second launch was actually a lot more serious. We actually had an electrical short circuit about 5 seconds after liftoff, and lost 2 of our 6 main engine controllers, of which we need 3. And so that was a little more serious, and we were we're doing just what we trained to do. We practiced that many, many, many times, and we did everything we needed to do. We got to orbit safely, and we launched the Chandra X-ray Observatory, which gives us all our news about black holes. Somebody else?
Dr. Colman.
Shorter answer, says Uncle Bob.
Katie, I have a question. What impact, if any, do you think the Chinese efforts to land on the moon, as well as establish their own space station, will have on NASA's efforts and international cooperation?
It's hard to say. The spirit of competition with the Russians, I think, certainly spurred our space program to begin with. not allowed to say that I think that we should all do these things